College football loves to trample assumptions. Just ask Clemson and Washington, for starters. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. As if college football didn't provide enough inspiration, entertainment, bonding among teams of diverse individuals, glimpses at the country's many subcultures and a sprawling legacy of homespun cheating, it even reminds us of the little tips about life, such as, try to refrain from assuming. Many of us assume that the wee-hour machine from the Northwest, number 5 Washington, not only would continue winning for at least a while, but would be able to score more than once against a defense ranked 127th, out of 130, in yards allowed per play. At 6-0, the Huskies played at so-so Arizona State in an afterthought. "They're just playing better than us," Washington coach Chris Petersen told ESPN at halftime of a preposterous 13-7 loss that howled with ghoulish, missed, third-quarter field goals from 27 and 21 yards. Auburn-LSU game clearly gave us college football's winners and losers for Week 7. Many of us had assumed Clemson darn near impenetrable because of the brand of football it had exhibited in September. The defending national champion had looked so well thought out, so all grown up, even minus its departed leader of 2016, Deshaun Watson. It had done hard things on the road at Louisville and Virginia Tech. At 6-0, it played so-so Syracuse on Friday in an afterthought. "My love for them is not conditional," Clemson coach Dabo Swinney had told his players after their "you've got to be kidding" 27-24 loss in Syracuse. "It's completely unconditional. It's not based on the scoreboard." With that, he reminded us that Clemson could take the loss, however shocking, and that it's the 21st century. Bear, Bo, Woody and John never discussed unconditional love. Similarly, many of us saw Washington State reach 6-0 with its 33-10 mastery of Oregon on October 7, right after its 30-27 toppling of Southern California on September 29, and we knew the Cougars had grappled successfully with success, a hard art. They played so-so California on Friday in an afterthought. "You're searching for a bright spot, there's no bright spot," Coach Mike Leach told a reporter who was searching for a bright spot the way coaches often do, and reporters often don't, after a staggering 37-3 loss that included 7 turnovers for the visitors, 0 for the hosts. "We were pathetic. You know, we were a bunch of pathetic front runners." He said his offensive line think they're too good and they're not very tough. He said his receivers didn't create separation, because they're not very tough either. Maryland says Kevin Anderson remains athletic director, but he's nowhere to be seen. It all sounded inconceivable, which meant it fit right in with this nutty sport played by very young people, a sport that reminds us that when we assume, we make mule out of you and me. Of course, 17 minutes into the action and the non-action Saturday afternoon at the mighty Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, that wasn't assuming. That was something surer than assuming. This thing was done. Number 10 Auburn led 20-0. It looked like something that could keep budding into something that would be in a college football playoff. It had 9 first downs to 1 for moribund LSU. It had 230 total yards to 67 for LSU. Its foreboding defense had allowed LSU one happy play, a 39-yard completion to DJ Chark, and then promptly stripped him of the ball. A 20-0 deficit looks steep to all, yet steeper to LSU's ugly offense, with its 20th century splurges for 3 and 4 yards at a time. 2 weeks prior, on the same field, LSU got overpowered by Troy, which then went around assuming and lost to South Alabama. As a plausible response to all of that, Tiger Stadium looked about 2/3 full, or 1/3 empty, depending on your outlook. Foster Moreau, the LSU tight end, said he could feel the crowd deflating, something players must ignore. At one point, receiver Russell Gage got the handoff on a swell play call, and streamed 70 yards up the left sideline to the Auburn 7-yard line. When he got caught, LSU wouldn't score. When it did, on 4th down from the 1, oh, okay. About 2 hours later, LSU fans rampaged out giddily. They chanted. They sang. They made cheerful percussion against a metal overhang. Their team had just finished a 2-game delight against Florida, 17-16, and Auburn, 27-23, the latter the biggest LSU comeback at Tiger Stadium since 1949. Their once hapless, once hopeless, once helpless first-year coach, Ed Orgeron, said, "We're just becoming a football team." He said Gage assured him at halftime, "We've got you, coach. We've got this." He said, "That ugly 3 or 4 yards sometimes, it sets the tempo." He said LSU adapted its defense but did not change it as, from halftime on, it allowed 4 first downs and 6 passing years and 64 total years in a 27-23 win. Players raved. Chark said he had envisioned his crucial 75-yard punt return before it happened, having read it from a previous punt return. Morrow said, "I'm so excited for this football team." Cornerback Donnie Jackson, who had a huge breakup on Auburn's last reasonable chance, said, "I was 5 for 5 times thrown at, no completions." He joshingly asked if reporters could put that on the record. "Okay. I just want to go home and lie down," he said. "And then I'm going to lie down, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to dream about me missing that pick, a dropped interception in the final minute, after freshman Connor Culp's emphatic field goals from 42 and 36 yards had pushed LSU ahead and then further ahead, and after Orgeron said, 'I kind of believed he was going to make it today for some reason,' which all came after people assumed LSU had a weak kicking game. Number 17 Michigan could have assumed superiority at Indiana, but it made a school record 16 penalties and resorted to overtime to win, 27-20, on its way to number 3 Penn State next week. Number 13 Southern California could have assumed superiority with Utah visiting, which would be weird given Utah beat it last year, but then, it is glamorous Southern California. It had to wriggle from a 21-7 deficit with drives of 98, 88 and 93 yards to win, 28-27, and it had to defend a last-minute, 2-point conversion attempt by the surpassing Utah quarterback, Troy Williams. Number 19 San Diego State, which had reached 6-0 and had won at Arizona State, which just beat number 5 Washington, welcomed an allegedly subpar Boise State, which won 31-14. By the time any malcontent who attempts to follow this game switched off the late-night television, knows. 2, 5, 8 and 10 had gone down in outcomes that made no sense, with the feeling there could not be a weekend any more senseless, which is probably an assumption. Read more. Tennessee's kicker wanted to fight one of South Carolina's defensive linemen. Syracuse upsets Clemson, Cal upsets Wazoo, and Mike Gundy goes shirtless on a wacky Friday night. Looking for the next hot college football coach? Look to